and we go to people who know the technicality of these ways to grow our businesses and bring them to the program to analyze our topics, tell us what they will be business owners should know, and also tell them how to go about their businesses. Welcome, my name is Charity James, and today we'll be doing the business review segment where our guest is standing by to talk about something very, very important to growing your business. But before we go on, let's go for this short break. When we come back, we'll kickstart the business review segment of the Profit Point Show. You're welcome. This is the business review segment of the Profit Point Show. Today we want to look at the mindset of those who we transact businesses with, who we entrust our services onto. The mindset of those who we think handle those things that we can't do by ourselves. So we want to look at the entrepreneurship mindset. What goes on in their mind, how do they carry out their businesses, how do they ensure that everything goes on without problems. And we have an event entrepreneur in the house who will be doing justice to add questions one after the other. He is ADENIYI ADEKUNLE Enoch. You're welcome to the program.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Now let's look at the entrepreneurs. When you call yourself entrepreneurs, what are the qualities that someone will see aside what is going on inside you, the physical qualities that a layman will see, and you'll be categorized as an entrepreneur?
Okay, one of the very germane characteristics of an entrepreneur is ability to solve problems. Okay. Ability to give value in exchange. So someone is paying you to give value. Ability to exchange value for the money that the person is paying you. Ability to make things easier for people. Ability to see where others see obstacles, where others see challenges. Ability to be able to identify the opportunities that are inherent in those challenges, solve them, and make a living out of it. Okay,
so that's what a layman on the street should look at when they want to entrust their services or business to someone.
The problem-solving skills it comes first.
Okay.
The person, an entrepreneur, must be able to solve a problem and must be able to give value. So those two things, problem solving and value, they are very, very essential.
Okay. Now there are some people who you call talented, or some people you say this person has earned his professional status on this job because they've had experiences on the job and they can do the job that you are giving onto them. For an entrepreneur, can we categorize them to talented people going into business, or it is inborn?
Okay, well, I cannot rule out the fact that there are some inherent abilities, but entrepreneurs are made. They are not born, because it goes beyond I have the ability to do this.
Okay.
How to convert your ability into something that is marketable. You can have ability and it can be dormant if it is not marketable, if it's not if it has not been it has not been worked on, it has not been adjusted in a way that it fits a particular need. So talent is talent, but an entrepreneur is being able to now place a demand on those talents. Okay, I know how to sing. How do I make a living out of that? How do I make earn from my ability to sing? I have ability to play this instrument is inherent. Everybody has talent. But an entrepreneur is someone that looks beyond the talent. So one thing is to have talent. An entrepreneur has beyond talent. You need to have experience. Beyond the talent, you need to be experienced. You need to be able to fine-tune those talents. Okay. And mind you, if some talents are not fine-tuned, they get obsolete. They get redundant.
Absolutely.
So an entrepreneur is someone that goes beyond the talent. In fact, an entrepreneur is someone that even employs someone that has a talent. So as an entrepreneur, you don't necessarily need to have a talent. If you have the skills, you have the technical know of managing those that have the talent, you can be an entrepreneur. So the fact that I have a talent is not all that there is to it. Talent is not enough. It goes beyond talent, experience, to become an expert. And this comes by regular exposure to stuff. I want to say events because that is my field.
That's your core area.
So it goes with your your use over time, your exposure, your interaction with when challenges comes out, how do you tackle it? When you have down times, how do you go about it? So it goes beyond talent.
Okay, now let's talk about one thing that entrepreneurs like you talk about. They say when you want to go into the business world, you must have this mindset that anything can come up at any time, and you should be strong for it. So let's talk about resilience. So resilience, how does it contribute to entrepreneurial success? Must you be resilient? Is it necessary for you to be resilient? Since you know what to do per time, why must you be resilient?
Okay, so being an entrepreneur is not a smooth sail.
Okay.
It's not a smooth drive. There are a lot of hurdles that comes with it, a lot of challenges that comes with it. Definitely there will be a lot of setbacks. For someone that's not resilient, at the face of the slightest setback or obstacle or hurdle, the person is likely going to give up, get discouraged. So resilience cannot be overemphasized, because if you are not resilient at what you do, it's not that if anybody promises you have been an entrepreneur, you just start and it goes. Okay, so if you look at people that made it globally. Okay, so let me give. I'm a scientist by training. About Houston, the person, one of the greatest scientists of our time, he failed so many times before he was able to have a breakthrough on his research. Imagine if there was no resilience, that means he would have just given up. And that is why there are so many people. They started out, I want to be an entrepreneur, because their resilience ratio is actually very low at the face of some challenge. In fact, in Nigeria now, to be an entrepreneur, if you are not resilient with the economy, definitely you're just going to chicken out. So resilience is as important as the skills, because you can be skilled, you can be an expert, and if you don't have the very tough skin to withhold the weather and the challenges that comes with it, you will definitely not make a success out of it. So resilience cannot be overemphasized.
So resilience, is this the same thing as risk taking? And why is risk taking very important when you are considering going into business, or you are into your business already? Must you take a risk while on the business? And why can we say risk is the same thing as resilience?
Okay, so I would say risk is not the same thing as taking risk, is not the same thing as being resilient. But what I would say is that taking risk is just a subset.
Okay.
It's just one of those factors of being resilient. There's no way you would be an entrepreneur that you not take risk. Nobody's going to hand you what you need on the platter of gold. You're going to go get it. Okay, so the point is, you setting out to do something, you're not the only one that is doing it. So it's even a risk that who will get to engage me in this thing I do, knowing that I have 1,001 other people that are contending and contesting with me in the same area. So it's all about risk. And one thing I've discovered is that the higher your risk ratio, the higher your level of being able to do great things. So if you have a very low risk coefficient, that means you may not be able to take some giant steps. And if you're not able to take some giant steps, you may not be able to make some giant breakthroughs. So risk taking is just a subset of resilience, but it's a very, very important thing, because it actually tells you how far you will go. If you're someone that don't want to take risk, you just want to work within your comfort zone, obviously that will limit the level of success. That means you yourself you have put an impediment to the level of success that you ever reach. So it's actually very, very important too.
So are you saying you must take risk?
Definitely.
When you see that there's a risk, then you go headlong. Is that what
okay,
you're
so
saying?
no, I won't say when you see that there's a risk, you go headlong. What I mean is that definitely, if you must take risk, your risk must be calculated risk.
Okay.
And that is why, as an entrepreneur too, you need to have mentors, you need to have people that have gone ahead in that business that can actually give you some guidelines, that can give you some mentoring. You don't just jump at every risk. There are some risks you will never recover from.
Yeah.
Some you will do it, it may not, you get your fingers burnt, but you learn from it. It's also part of the training. But it's not that you now jump at every risk because you have to take risk. Every risk you are going to take has to be calculated. And you have to look at your own risk ratio. Okay, so for example now, you're doing a business and you know all the money you feel you can lose that you know nothing is going to happen is about 1 million. And for a business you know little or nothing about, you now want to take a loan of 10 million. Use your house as calculator and go south. So if you're taking this, number one, if you look at okay, if it is calculated, number two, how informed are you about what you're taking the risk on? Because you cannot put your eggs in a basket that is already broken. You will lose them. So if you are not informed about what you are doing, it's easier to even invest more in the area you're already, maybe you want to expand your business, for example, in an area that you're already well learned in an area whereby you know the nitty-gritty. It's easier when you now say, okay, I want to expand, I want to enlarge my coast. Yes, but if it's a new area, you have to be very, very careful so that you don't take a risk that will sink your ship. So that's okay.
Okay, now let's delve into the mindset. Some entrepreneurs are said to have the mindset of solving problems. So if you want to solve a problem as an entrepreneur, how do you go about it? What are the things that you must do to be an entrepreneur that has the mindset of solving problems when it comes? How do you tackle problems headlong? How do you tackle problems, or how do you envisage that this thing can bring in problem for me, and these are the strategies I will use to solve them?
Okay, so some problems are not evictable. Okay, so I'm going to attack it from two angles. You are helping people solve problems. So for you to be able to solve a problem, number one, you must have identified the problem. So some people don't even know the problem is actually a problem. So as an entrepreneur, the first thing is you identify what the problem is,
Yes.
the causes of the problem, and look at ways to mitigate it. So those are some of the things that makes you an entrepreneur. Many people do. If you don't see a problem as a problem, then there's no way you're going to get it solved. If you don't see that as a problem, it's not going to get solved. Okay, so let me take, for example, now we have solar everywhere because there's a major problem of electricity supply in the country. So solar is getting a wide range of acceptance now because people that even have lights cannot even afford to pay, like people in Bandana cannot afford to pay that excessive bill. So there's a problem, and people need lights. And an entrepreneur, okay, so what is an alternative? If this is a problem, what is an alternative thing that can, okay, so in economics they say substitute good. Okay, if I'm not using this, which other good, what other thing can substitute for it? So is you identifying the problem and looking for the substitute for the problem. That is what makes you an entrepreneur. That okay, this is a substitute. Okay, and opening people's eye or taking people's attention towards the substitute. That okay, don't focus on the rather than focus on the problem they have little or no power over. Then let's look at the substitutes and how we make substitutes available to solve that problem. That is on the exterior part. You're doing it for an entrepreneur now. There's no way you're not going to have challenges. There are no ways you're not going to have challenges. But number one, as an entrepreneur, there is need for an entrepreneur to be proactive. You don't wait, you tackle them head on and you envisage.
Okay.
So it's not as if you get relaxed and wait for the problem to happen or to soak you up before you now start reacting. So for an entrepreneur, you don't react, you proact. So you are proactive, you are not reactive. So it's not as if, because there's a law that says that actions and reactions are equal and opposite. So for every action, there must be a reaction. So yes, some actions can be avoided if you are proactive. Some you may not see them coming, but the reaction also has to be calculated and has to be prompt. So if there's a prompt reaction to action, it may mitigate a lot of damages also.
Yes.
So for an entrepreneur, you need to be proactive where you do not see it coming because of, okay, so for example, nobody saw COVID-19 coming.
Yeah.
But the point is, it came, and there needed to be prompt reactions to it. Even on the side of government, and it's not even limited to entrepreneurs alone. Like the government now, they closed borders, they did a lot of things in place to try and stop or minimize the spread. So you may not be able to solve a problem as an entrepreneur completely, but you may be able to provide solutions that will reduce the effects of the challenge.
Okay, now let's talk about intuition, because the way you are analyzing, that means everything you are going to do comes from your mind. Sometimes you don't have a guideline, sometimes you do not have a written way of doing the business. So what is the role of intuition when you want to take some decisions? For instance, risk taking. For instance, you want to solve a problem that is coming or that you think might come. The inner mind will tell you, you can do this and you can do that. So what is the place of intuition in decision making for entrepreneurs?
Okay, so for me, intuition, I would say, is a combination of logic and instinct.
Okay.
And you don't just believe on your intuition alone. And if you are going to base your judgment only on your intuition, you better have nurtured that intuition, your mind. And how do you nurture your mind? You expose yourself to trainings. You expose yourself to learning from experts. You expose yourself to mentorship. So by so doing, you build your intuition. Okay, so there's a challenge you're facing now, but someone has faced it before, or there's a challenge you are likely to face in future. You're starting out a business. Someone has been in that business for over a decade. Definitely, the person has gone through the downtimes doing his business that you can learn from. If you depend solely on your intuition and you put away experience, you put away expertise, you put away knowledge, you put away information, you may just get yourself in a lot of troubles. So for me, if you say intuition is very important, very fantastic, but that means the mind must have been well informed. You're starting as a business person and all your decisions, you just feel, I'm counting on my intuition, I can do it, fine. But you may have your fingers burnt. Most times you even have your fingers burnt because intuition alone is not enough.
Okay.
At times you may need to, that's why knowledge, one as an entrepreneur needs to have a very vast knowledge about marketing, about problem solving, about recent technologies, so that you don't even, what you are even bringing to the table is no more needed. So if you are believing, you need to actually know where the globe is going now. You need to know the trend of things, how things are going now. You need to actually learn from people that have actually passed through, that have been in similar situations, people that did not recover from it. What they did that did not make them recover from it. And people that were able to weather the storm. And that's why it's even important to read people's biography and autobiography and see people, the way their success story. That would actually make us to make a more informed decision rather than just depending on one's intuition.
Okay, so intuition is not too good.
It's good when the mind has actually been trained, over time has been trained
by experience,
by exposure, by information, by knowledge. But that is not to say that you now depend solely
on intuition.
on intuition.
Okay, now in business, they say you don't know what will happen next, and that is the ways of saying that the uncertainty can happen, and you should be ready to embrace uncertainties in your business. So, for an entrepreneur, what are the ways that you think they should, ways that you can prefer to them to embrace uncertainties that might come their ways, uncertainties in the risk areas, uncertainties maybe in the market trends, uncertainties in every aspect of their business life? How should entrepreneurs learn to embrace it?
Okay, thank you. So there's something we call forecast. Like you're looking into what's going to happen in future. You're looking into, although some things are, you're not able to preempt how some things are going to turn out. But number one, I would say, as an entrepreneur, you need to have a very tough skin and a very large heart. A very tough skin and a very large heart. Uncertainties are almost non-negligible. They'll definitely come. They'll definitely come. But it now depends on how prepared we are for uncertainty. So the way you now handle uncertainties is how informed are you? Okay, so some people try not to be, how will I put it? They are not very sincere with themselves.
Okay.
So, because they read a motivational speaker saying you can aspire to inspire to aspire, so they believe everything is going to be a smooth sail. They don't envisage any downtime. They don't envisage any challenge. So, for example, in the event industry, when COVID came, okay, so nobody envisaged COVID.
No.
Nobody imagined that nations would be shut down for months. At that point, we needed to sit back. Everyone needed to sit back and strategize. So it's not that, okay, so if some uncertainties happen, it's not that you just tackle them like that. At times you need to actually sit back, take a break, and re-strategize. It may be that there's something you're not doing well. It may be that there's something you're doing well, but is not, the word has gone past that to a level whereby what is expected to bring the desired result we have, you don't have the expertise. So in that case, you need to actually go beyond, you need to actually first sit back and evaluate the situation. Don't just jump at it, okay, this is this, I will tackle it, I will do. Most times people don't come to terms with reality that uncertainties are part of the journey. They're part of the ordeals that an entrepreneur should face. So they just want to go about it, and they don't actually sit down to evaluate what are the things you're not getting right, what are the things we need to adjust, where are the ways we need to actually do better, and you just go ahead with it and everything just gets sync. So for me, I believe in the case of uncertainties, I think the first thing is actually to sit back and make evaluations and re-strategize.
Okay, re-strategizing, is it the same strategy that an entrepreneur can use for setbacks and the failures they encounter on the way?
Okay, so every challenge has its peculiarity. Nobody has ever experienced COVID before, so nobody could advise how that could have been handled. So for every challenge, it may require a peculiar strategy. So it's not that one medicine cures or rather. So you have to actually look at the peculiarity of the challenges and say, okay, these are the peculiarity. These are the way out. You don't just say because the strategy you use for something and the situation it differs. The strategies can actually work for
all.
No, I won't say all.
Okay.
For multiple challenges, a couple of challenges, but they may need some adjustments. They may need some modifications. So you don't just take it hook, line, and sinker that because it has worked for this, or because it has worked for someone in another environment, it's going to work definitely for me. Sure. So I think there's need for evaluation and modifications
Okay.
of strategies per time.
Okay, so not all strategies will work for all problems.
Definitely not.
Okay, now let's talk about thinking outside the box. We hear that phrase a lot. If you want to do some things, they will tell you, go and achieve this thing using your own initiative. Think outside the box. For an entrepreneur, what do you call think outside the box? What are the things that you must do to be different? What are the things that you must do to be unique in your own field?
Okay, so as an entrepreneur, people want new things. People get easily bored. You're doing this, you're servicing your clients, and it's the same way you've been servicing them for the past 20 years. The same way you're servicing them now. Let me look at marketing, for example. Before now, the last 20 years, marketing had a lot of restriction. Maybe you come to TV stations, billboards, and bills, and the likes. But the trend of things over the decade now has changed. Now there are so many social media platforms you can do your marketing. You can do your sponsored ads, you can do this, you can do that. You can be here and reach people in other continents. So anybody that now that has not come to terms with that and still does it the organic way will not be getting the global visibility.
Okay.
So it's not there is need for constant growth. There is need for constant reform. There is need for constantly putting that creative nature of us, that creative instinct into work. For events, for example, now, many things that people see as why we be doing this at an event, they have become what people do at events, and they make a living, they make a lot of money from. Before now, like 25, 30 years ago, you cannot serve someone Gary in the event, and the person will feel disgusted and insulted. Now, what do you mean? But now, even beans and bread, they serve it at party now. Even Gary, a lot of things that we have felt this is insult, that seems, because of our culture and our background, seems to be insulting some decades ago, are not getting a lot of acceptance. If people did not think outside the box, although there's some things you bring to the table, it will not be acceptable. It may need time. So because it takes time for people to also adjust. It is thinking outside the box that bets the revolution of what's it called, carbon emitting cars to electric cars. Because carbon emission contributes to global warming and
the climate change.
So rather than continue on that path, thinking outside the box brought to life electric cars. And that is widely acceptable now, although it's not still affordable because it's a new technology, so to speak. But in another 40 years, many people may not be able to many governments will not even allow carbon emitting cars, because in United Nations, in US, they have a date that by social time, no carbon emitting cars will be allowed in their city, in their countries. So that's actually a result of thinking outside the box. But when you think outside the box, one thing is that acceptability is not going to be immediate. It is going to take a gradual thing for people to accept it, for people to be able to run with that vision. But it's actually what you cannot realize is what actually puts you, it gives you a comparative advantage over your contemporaries. So when they see, people want to see new things at every time. Okay, so for me now, doing my business, I ask my team most times, when we look to our archives and we look at pictures of what we did last 2-3 years, we tell ourselves what we do, someone that has patronized us 5 years ago should not come now and to still be the same thing with the same level of service. Nothing should have diminished, but we should have improved on it. The person must be seeing like value has been added. such that if the person goes away or does not have reasons to patronize us, the person knows that when he's coming in another 5 years, another 2 years, he's already expecting something new.
Different.
So that is actually why you need to think outside the box, to keep your customers, to keep your audience, to keep them at an edge, to give them this confidence in you that they're going to be getting what is going to be recent, what is going to be good quality, and what is going to be competitive, so to speak.
Okay, thank you for that in-depth analysis on that. Let's talk about the technology that you mentioned the other time. You spoke about maybe some countries in Europe will be phasing out the carbon emitting cars and move to the electric cars that are already in circulation. Now let's talk about the importance of providing solutions for entrepreneurs. For those countries, they are providing solution and trying to look at how to take out some things that injurious to their countries or injurious to humans. Why must entrepreneurs put themselves on the aspect of providing solutions? That is the first one. Then what is the place of technology in ensuring that entrepreneurship runs at its best?
Okay, so I think
It's a two-in-one.
okay, so the first question is actually, I would say it's peculiar to our country, Nigeria, because outside Nigeria, in developed countries, there are grants, there are a lot of support that comes to entrepreneurs that actually propels them. You'll be surprised that many of those companies you're talking about that make these electric cars, they get subventions, they get grants, they get tax reliefs from the government to support them in a way. So it's only in Nigeria that the burden is on, and I would not say it would be unfair to say it's solely on entrepreneurs. The burden is on citizens to find solutions. It's just like all man for himself. So it's actually peculiar to our country, and things are getting better. Even in our country now, there are grants now, there are foundations that support entrepreneurs now, SMEs, and there are some other government programs also that actually support SMEs. And talking about technology, okay, so I would say it has its own advantages and it has its own disadvantages. But I would say the advantages outweigh the disadvantages, because the technology gives an entrepreneur the opportunity to compete globally. That is why you will see someone that is in a village is doing one exploit, and the person does not have to, people does not have to be in that village to see you. Before now, your views, your audience are restricted to you. Okay, so before now, let me just put it simple. Before now, audiences were organic. Probably people within your family, people within your immediate environment, people within your circle, people within your family or community. But now, with the advent of technology, there is globalization, there is global visibility, there is even ease of doing business, so to speak, because technology now has even created a lot of opportunities. Now, for example, now, in the before now, 20 years, 25 years, there was also like, nobody cared about the content creator for events. But now you are having an event, you need to get the content creator.
Push yourself
out there, leveraging on social media. There are so many. So before now, the pictures, okay, look at when the invention of GSM, then Motorola, what was it called, Nokia and the likes. No, even for those that had picture, that had camera then, if you look at the quality, how inferior. But then it was a wow. The fact that you even have a camera phone, wow, you have a camera phone. I remember this phone then, neck, very long and because you have a camera phone. But if you look at the quality of those pictures, then they are nothing to have to talk about. But technology has made these things easy, that with your phone, you can take quality pictures, you can post them online. someone someone abroad can actually order for what you're doing, order for your service, request for your service. It has actually helped develop more entrepreneurs. It has helped develop more entrepreneurs, although it has its own disadvantage, because okay, now we have AI, and with the trend of things in years to come, there will not be need for some skills again.
Okay.
Because they are robots now. Although the thing about Nigeria is that the exodus of technology from developed countries to Africa is always very, very slow. But for that, many people would have challenges with their job. That means there is need to also be up to date with technology.
Okay.
Know how to imagine there's someone of my age now who knows how to use social media. That is to that person's peril, because the person is at disadvantage. Our parents are excused because, and many of them, even our parents, they even know how to use those things.
To some extent.
To some extent. At least to a very minimal extent. Use some technologies and the likes. So, as an entrepreneur, it's all you can stop. What we can do is to look at how we can leverage on it. And that we can also up our game such that we keep our relevance. So technology, it's fantastic. It's fantastic. Imagine there are self-driven cars now. Imagine if I need to go to Lagos and my car is going to drive itself. That means I have more productive hours to do other things. So it's actually a good one. Although it comes as a cost, one, and there is need to move with the trend so that we don't lose relevance also, so that we don't lose touch and we don't become obsolete.
Okay, let's go to the marketing aspect of an entrepreneur. You know, if you have your solution packed and you have some things you want to give out, if you do not market it well, or your product, if you do not market it well, then some people that you are targeting will not get it. So let's talk about e-commerce now, going back to technology. Do you think every entrepreneur should embrace e-commerce? Can we talk about the advantages of these and disadvantages of these? And do you think we are using it enough in this time?
Okay, so e-commerce is actually very good. But before you talk about e-commerce, we need to look at branding.
Okay. So
you talk about putting something forward that, like people are putting forward to even like it. So for example, I'm going to use myself as an example. Okay, I run an event company known as That Events. We're into food, catering, and small chops, cocktails, grills, and the likes. So for us now, we pay attention to even how our waiters even dress.
okay.
So for us, I tell my team members that when we are presenting, the way we present it is as important as what we are presenting. You can be presenting something that is very good in a very shabby way.
Okay.
You will be judged on the way you present. The way you dress is the way you are dressed. So the way you present your services is how you'll be judged. So for me, most times people will tell me, hope this thing is a bit expensive. And I'll tell them, we are not giving you a shabby work. We are bringing value. What are we bringing to the table? We are bringing our expertise, we are bringing value, we are bringing premium service. Many people just want to get it done. They don't care if it is excellently done. So the place of excellence is actually watered down. So when you're not putting something down, if you're putting, e-commerce is just going to help you magnify what you put forward. It's not going to do anything to the product. It's just going to magnify your audience, give you more visibility. But if something you're putting forward is already shabby, definitely that thing rubs off on your own personality as an individual, and it rubs off on your brand. So number one thing before considering e-commerce is the branding. A lot of attention needs to be paid to branding. So for me, I did a job for someone, and when we're about to serve and we're just trying to garnish it to make it look very presentable, and the person called and said, "Oh, wow, you use this vegetable for this thing, I like it. Okay. It's nice." It's so there are some little things, little finesse, little finesse. Like, for example, now let me use food. Now I want to present a food and oil is spilled all over the plates, and so many things. Just little attention to details. It's actually very, very important. I'm talking about e-commerce. It has not been. We have not utilized it enough. Okay. I would say. I think we are utilizing it based on level of knowledge we have about it. We don't leverage on it enough. We don't leverage on it enough, and that is the way to go now, because everything now has gone electronic, and it even makes it easier. But I think we have not made use of it before, and it comes back to the fact that with the advent of more technologies now, we need to be up to date, so that even the e-commerce that are now coming will be able to even access them and utilize them. If the ones that are on now will not be able to utilize the options, by the time we have more, definitely we have a lot of challenges.
So now let's go to the challenges you mentioned. Now, as an entrepreneur, what challenge do you think they will be facing, and how do they overcome this challenge? I know you mentioned finance, and must finance be part of the challenges an entrepreneur will face?
Well, finance is actually very pertinent, and you cannot say it's inconsequential. However, it depends. In some cases, finance comes first. Okay. In other cases, the skills and the expertise comes first. Okay. So for me, the way I started out, it's even easy now. Things are getting easier. So let me use, for example, you are into events. I'm going to be using a lot of events for example.
No problem. That's your core.
Okay, so like you are an event decorator now. I don't do decoration too. Okay. Yeah, I'm event decorator now. The good thing about this era is that what you need is not capital. What you need is the skill and the expertise and the human resources. When you get a job and you get paid for a job, almost 90% of what you need can be rented. You can rent them. Okay. You don't even need to source them yourself. You can get about 90%, if I'm not mistaken, of the things you need. I'm talking about material now. Like I said, if you have the skills and the human resources, then other things that you have actually needed capital for, can be rented. So that means if you're in that field and what you're waiting for is capital, I think you should get something doing. Why you raise? So you raise there's something that you can raise the capital while you're on the job, because nobody's going to even throw it at you. Some other areas you might need to get equipment and lights. That is why also mentorship is actually very important too. Okay. Just equipment, you cannot afford it. Can you get someone that has it, that you can be a mentor to? So when you go there, you pay to use it. You get it used, you do your job, you deliver to your clients while you raise money. Because you can wait for decades waiting for fund. So me, for example, I've been doing this for over a decade, and so I started in my father's sitting room. I was not waiting to get a show. You need to get a show. I said no. So I started out from his sitting room. And now, because so it has a big compound, so the house is like a 2 flats. So there's a flat we're using for what I'm using now, what I'm doing now. We have an exterior kitchen also for some other things that we do exterior. I wasn't waiting to get a shop, but me, I'm raising money to get a shop. What I was just busy doing there was putting my stuff out there, getting people, because you need people, you need customers more than you need a shop. Although when you have a shop, okay, maybe people drive by. I don't have that experience, and I've never had that experience. People drive by and they wait. But the point is, even without having a shop, and it's been like 13 years counting, about 13, 14 years, I've done, I cannot count, I've done hundreds of events. I can still be somewhere brooding and waiting to get to for an uncle to fund me or something, but I never did. Rather, I just put my work out there and continue. If I needed a shop or an office space now, easily for me, I'll get one.
Okay.
So many times people put fund before expertise. They don't even have the expertise in the field to start with. So when the money comes, how do you even know how to channel it appropriately?
Okay.
So I feel you need to get the expertise first. Then funding is a challenge, but that's a challenge. Another challenge also is competitors.
Okay.
Because what you are doing is you're not the only one that is doing it. Definitely 1,001 people doing it out there. But you need to actually now look inward. Taking me back to what you said, thinking outside the box to now say, what am I going to do differently that will give me a cutting edge, that will be a competitive advantage, that will give me preference above others. So that is that. And again, another challenge can be in fact, it's the economy. The inflation is eating deep, okay, so you've collected money from your clients, and when you get to the market, what you are buying is different from what you have actually charged.
Okay.
And client is telling you,
that is what my
budget is. Your integrity is at stake, you need to deliver. So most times, the profits begins to dwindle, and in fact, it's a lot of challenge.
Okay, and before we allow you to leave, I'll give you this last question, and it is a dicey one. Some people say entrepreneurs are business owners. Do you see it that way? When you are called an entrepreneur, that means you're a business owner. Is it correct?
Okay, so as an entrepreneur, I would say rather than refer to an entrepreneur as a business owner, I would rather refer to entrepreneur as a problem solver.
Okay.
A business owner may necessarily not be an entrepreneur. I can be an investor. So I would rather prefer to describe an entrepreneur as a problem solver.
Okay.
Someone that gives you value for your money.
All right. Thank you so much, ADENIYI ADEKUNLE, for coming on the program. And he has been talking about the entrepreneurship mindset and how you can go about challenges, strategies, and how you can ensure that you are sustained in your business. Thank you so much for coming on the program. Thank you so much. Now we want to go on the Profit Point Show for this week, but before we allow you to leave, don't forget that you can join Ogtv and advertise your business or put up a sponsorship on any of our product that you see and you like. But before you can do that, you contact us with this number 0803-396-0423. That's the number that will allow you contact the person that will put you through on how to sponsor or advertise on any of our programs or any of the airtime that you want to use on Ogtv. 0803-396-0423. And that is the size of the program for this Thursday. We will come again next Thursday, God willing. We'll be having a full package and full segment on the Profit Point Show. My name remains Charity James. We'll see you again. Bye-bye.